Soccer training is broken. Most players are spending hours doing drills that don't actually translate to the game, but there's a new method that's turning average players into elite ones, and I don't hear very many people talking about it. I've been testing it with my private training clients for quite a while now, and I'm seeing incredible results from faster decision making, sharper footwork, and just better performance on the pitch. So today I'm going to break it down step by step and show you how to actually implement it in your own training sessions. So if you're stuck doing the same old boring cone drills, this is your wake-up call. Let's dive in. Let's be real, most youth soccer training is outdated. You do the same ball mastery, a few 1v1s, maybe a small scrimmage, but there's no pressure, no decision making, and no real game-like intensity. Players get technically better, sure, but when the game actually starts, panic and hesitation set in because that training didn't actually prepare you for real moments that you face in game. That's where this new method comes in. It's called game realistic training, and it flips the old model upside down. Now, before I show you how it works, I want to hear from you. What's the most frustrating part of soccer training for you? I'm going to respond to every comment that I can, so make sure to leave it and we can start a conversation. Also, while you're there, go ahead and support other people. Comment on other people's questions and on their posts. Let's create a community of players that are looking to improve. Now, game realistic training is a lot like what it sounds. It's training that has the looks, the demands, and the feel of actual game situations. But why does that matter? Well, in a game, you don't have unlimited time. You don't get perfect conditions. Every touch, every pass, every run has to be done under pressure. So whether it's a defender closing in, a teammate shouting for the ball, or limited space to work in. But in traditional training, everything's scripted and predictable. Dribble through the cones, pass to the coach, and shoot on an empty net because the goalkeeper is actually at basketball practice. But that's not what high-level soccer actually looks like. Game realistic training flips that. It forces players to constantly solve problems, and you have to think fast, adjust on the fly, and develop actual soccer IQ, not just technique. Think of it like this. Technical drills build the tools, but game realistic training actually tells you when and how to use those tools in game-like situations. That's what makes the difference between a flashy YouTube player and one that actually dominates in-game. It's not just physical, it's mental. You're training decisions, reactions, awareness, and confidence. So let's break down the method and its core principles. Number one, constraints-based drills. These are the drills that force players to think and to adapt. You might say two-touch only, you must pass forward, or you can't pass to the same player that you received from. And why does this work? It removes comfort. It makes a player not just able to use their body, they have to use their brain. They have to anticipate, they have to scan, they have to have awareness and soccer IQ. So it really makes them think beyond rather than just doing. Because when a player has to work around a role, they're learning problem solving on the fly in training, and that will translate to games. Number two, positional awareness. You can't make good decisions if you don't know where you are. I train players to scan constantly, to check their shoulder every few seconds, checking on where the defenders are and where the space is. Even in a simple rondo, you can add different colored cones to check before you pass, or even add another shadow defender. We build habits that stick in real games. Number three, chaos and pressure. This one's huge. Most players look great in training because there's no pressure. You're not simulating those game-like situations. So you need to simulate, you need to replicate that chaos and that intensity that you see in a match in training. Even during technical work, you might want to bring in a passive defender, add time limits, or shrink certain areas so that players get used to making clean touches in tight spaces. Confidence comes from repetition in chaos, not repetition in comfort. And number four, game-like reps are better than just repetition. 10 absolutely perfect cuts in training means 0 if you get in a game and you panic in 1v1 situations. So instead of doing 100 touches with no pressure, let's simulate real game actions. Add in escaping a press, turning under pressure, switching play, because the goal isn't perfection, the goal is recognition. We want players to recognize patterns and solutions during games because they've seen them before in training. All right, so now the part that you've probably been waiting for, how do you actually implement game realistic training into your own sessions? You don't need some pro facility or anything crazy. You just need a shift in mindset and structure. There are just 2 steps that I'm going to give you here. And step 1 is going to be get that ball mastery and that technical work early. Start with just 4 to 5 minutes of ball mastery work to get those touches and activate your body before the session. This should be at a high intensity. Use things like inside-outside touches, soul rolls, push-pull, whatever you want to do here, but don't stay there too long. The goal here is to sharpen the touch and get the brain focused. You should only be here for 4 to 5 minutes, then move on. Don't spend 20 minutes here. And step 2, there's gonna be 2 variations here, one for team training and one for individual training. In team training for variation 1, implement a decision-making drill. Instead of just doing a normal 1v1 or 2v1 drill, Add where the attacker has to scan, decide, and execute. So set up 2 small goals, the attacker starts facing away. On your signal, they turn, find the open goal, and beat the defender to finish. You can also add color-coordinated cones to assign which goal they should be attacking in which situation. And what this does is it makes the attacker actually get their head up and think. If they have their head down and they're just going to one goal, they can drive straight and do something without thinking. But if they have to get their head up and scan, they need to understand where's that defender, which cone goal am I actually driving to at this point, and then they have to technically implement that. And there are nearly unlimited variations that you can do here. You can limit touches, you can start with the ball in the air. You can have them check to a certain cone before turning. These constraints build speed of thought. And again, there are so many different variations and things that you can do to improve decision making and make your training more game realistic. I just want to give you one quick example to get you started here. Now, for variation number 2, we're looking at individual training or private training. If you're a player that maybe you're not seeing the growth that you want from your team training, you've talked with your coach, and maybe you're just not seeing that development that you want to see in yourself. First, that's great to identify, but then you have to go out and actually do something about it. So that's what we're going to do here. We can replicate similar situations from the team training example in individual training by ourselves or with a teammate. So ideally in this situation, you have a teammate, but one thing that you can do and something to get you started with game realistic training, instead of just going out, putting a ball down and passing or finding shots from 30 yards with a static ball, go ahead, put 4 cones down in a 4-yard by 4-yard square. Make all 4 cones at the corners different colors and have a reaction drill. Start without the ball to keep it simple. Have a teammate where you're starting in the middle. Teammate calls out a color. You have to be agile. Get to that color cone, hop back to the middle. Then you can add in a passing sequence, be passing with your teammate, then they call a color. You have to hop out there, then hop back into the middle and continue passing. Then you can add so many different variations. I could go on for hours and hours here of variations that I do with my players. You can work in mini goals where you get on the turn after you check to a certain cone. But really what you want to do here is just implement something that makes you think rather than just do. Because the focus here isn't just on the body, it's on the brain. So I've seen massive strides forward in my players that do private training with me because we're implementing things that actually translate into a game. If you're going out and you're doing exercises that don't have pressure, that don't have intensity, that don't have defenders, that don't have thought worked into it, then it's not going to actually translate and prove effective once you get in a game-like situation where you have that stress, that pressure, and everything on you. So when I started implementing this, players started asking smarter questions. They were scanning more. They were making quicker decisions. You could see the game slowing down for them. And that's when you know a player is really developing because they weren't just training better, they were playing better. So if you want to start training better and actually see it translate into a game, you need to change your approach and your mindset. Now, I hope you found this video helpful. I promise if you start to implement this in your training, you'll see improvement because you're going to be thinking about the game rather than just playing the game. So while you're here, make sure you comment down below, like I said earlier, what's the toughest part of training for you? And also make sure to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. I'll continue to post weekly content that'll help you be a better footballer. Catch you in the next video.